Hello and welcome back. Now let's explore how we can use the calculate function using multiple criteria. So let's say we would like to evaluate the total sales numbers, but only for rows in our dataset where the sales are between 15 and 25, as an example. So that would mean that we need to go to our table, this one, in this case the sales table. Let me select it first. And then we need to apply a kind of, in this case, numeric filter. So if I go to my sales column here, as an example, I tick this option, and under number filters, I would like to apply something which is, in this case, greater than, and as well as less than. So let's say greater than. And here is greater than, and then I say it should be greater than 15. So specify 15 here. And at the same time, that's why we use an and condition here, say is less than, let's say is less than, and then let's say 25 as an example, right? So, or let's actually specify greater or equal, let's say greater or equal to, just to include the 15, 25 in here, and say less than or equal to, in this case, 25, okay? So that means we want to filter our data set, and we only want to keep values in between 15 and 25. If I click OK, now you see that the table get filtered here, and we see a little less data. As an example here, for product ID number 2, we see 20. For product ID number 1, we see 25. And for product ID number 3, we see 18 plus 15 is 33. And for 4, we see 15. Now let's actually check that in the measure with the calculate function. So let's say we'd like to create a new measure here. I right click on the sales table and say new measure in here. And we can simply name this measure properly. Let's just say this is our sales between, now say 15 and 25, okay? Just as an example. And then says equal to, and I'm referring to the calculate function. So let me just increase the size even bigger. Okay, calculate function. And now the expression itself is, again, our total sales. So in our case, it's total sales. And now we need to give it the filter expression. And in our case, it's from the sales table, the sales column. So sales table, sales column, here, this one here, should be greater or equal to 15. And at the same time, and here we can use the double ampersand symbol. So twice here, we want to ensure that the sales table, and again referring to from the sales table, the sales column, so this one here, should be at the same time less or equal to 25. 5, not 6. Close the parenthesis, and we're basically good to go. Let me maybe put here, go to Shift Enter, just add it to a new line. And that's it, okay? So we can refer to multiple filter criteria here using this double ampersand symbol. And let's evaluate that. Let's press enter to see, create the measure itself. Just a second, here we go. And now let's actually go to our table. And maybe let me just remove a few lines from our table which we don't need, just to make it a little bit smaller again. And now let's actually evaluate what we have created, our total sales between, or with values between, we make this bigger, 15 and 25. Here we go, this one. Select the table first, click on the measure here, and now you see basically here's the result, okay? So it's 93 instead of the 148, the whole table, and we can see here the values. And remember, as just an example, if we take a look at our data set, for instance, Rockstar here, just to check that, is currently 33, and Red Bull is now only 20 instead of 50. So if we go back to our table, and here is still the filter table because we applied the numeric filter. For Red Bull, which is in this case ID number 2, we can see 20. And for Rockstar, which is product ID number 3, we can see 18 plus 15, which is exactly the 33 which you see here. And just by the way, if you don't remember the product ID, so that 2, for instance, is Red Bull, and that 3 is a Rockstar, all you need to do is go back to the product table, and here you can see 2 is Red Bull and 3 is Rockstar. So you can easily check that. Okay? And that's basically how you can filter the data and only return results between the thresholds you have set here. The same formula can also be built using the AND function. So as we have in Excel as an example, we also have in Power BI the AND function. So the first example was referring to this double ampersand, which we had here, this one. But we can do this differently as well. Let me just copy all of this. Of course, you can also rewrite it, but let's actually copy it just to be a little bit faster. Let's right click on the table, go to new measure here, and just paste this inside. Just a second, here we go, paste it inside. And now let's say sales between 15 and 25. and so version 2. So here we go, and say calculate total sales. And now instead of using this with the ampersand symbol, we simply type in the AND function. So AND here, and checks whether all arguments are true and returns true if all arguments are true. Okay, so we can simply check here and then we say the sales table sales should be greater or equal to 15. And then a second argument, we need to remove the double ampersand. Instead, we simply use a comma here for second logic, okay? Just to make sure that both of them are correct. And then we close here the AND function. And finally, of course, we need to also close the calculate function. So we need a second parenthesis here. Okay, so far so good. Let's press enter just to make sure that we really get the results which we would expect. And if I tick the table one more time, and now we say we would also like to see the sales between 15 and 25 in the second version. So press this option here, and then you see if I make this bigger, we get exactly the same results that we had here, right? So both these options are valid, and it's up to you whether you want to use here the double ampersand, or in our case, because it's the same here, you can also refer to the AND function and get exactly the same result. But this would allow you to use the AND formula and basically use multiple criteria to filter your dataset, okay? So that's it for this video. Hopefully you understood what we did. In case you got questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I can't wait to see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.